The wait for a real ID isn't the only problem at Kentucky driver's licensing branches.
WDRB's uncovered a criminal fraud investigation going on behind the scenes. The transportation cabinet's trying hard to keep it secret. Quite a bit of attention's been placed on Kentucky driver's license branches lately.
With the long wait times out there right now.
Long lines winding out the door and sometimes down the block.
This just don't make no sense.
And people packed shoulder to shoulder inside.
You get an ID.
We found Candace Bratton Ford and her daughter Giovanna in the midst of the mess.
It's too much. It's too much. For me, it's too much.
Both ultimately needing a driver's license.
You're ending up being here all day.
A real ID or license will soon be needed to get on planes, in military installations, and some federal buildings. The race to meet the May 7th deadline created gridlock in these offices. State reports saying only 37% of licensed Kentuckians have a real ID.
Frustrated and annoyed. The process, I think, could be better.
But a bigger story than this frustrating wait may be brewing behind the scenes. WDRB discovered a fraud investigation in the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. An audit probing how people got licenses without taking the driver's tests.
There are serious concerns, and we'll hold anybody accountable if they violated the law.
WDRB obtained this leaked document dated April 22nd. It tells a driver their license was issued in error, that it's invalid and will be canceled, and that they should return it to a regional office or they could be charged. In Kentucky, you have to take a written and a driving test to get a first-time license. A state police examiner does the driving test, and if it's passed, a transportation employee will issue the license. And that's the gap. Sources told me there were scores for people who never took the tests. Open records requests gave us a glimpse at how big this problem is, with the state's responses revealing an investigation that dates back more than 5 months. The Transportation Cabinet sent 1,546 letters notifying people of, quote, irregularities in the license they received.
Oh my gosh, that shocks me. It really shocks me.
John Stewart's taught at the Kentucky Driving School in Louisville for 20 years. He says this error put a risk on the road.
Oh, big risk. I think it's too big of a risk. People aren't going to know the basics to driving. They're not going to know the distance to stay back. They're looking over the shoulder, what time to look over the shoulder, when to signal. They're just driving blank.
The driver's licensing branch of the NIA Center in Louisville's West End and the Hardin County branch in Elizabethtown are the focus of the investigation. An email from a state attorney confirmed that, and the firing of at least 2 workers. But the Commonwealth's doing everything it can to keep the matter quiet. The state denied all of our records requests, withholding documents on resignations, terminations, and discipline at these branches. Why is the state trying to hold on so hard to what has happened here?
What I can say is there's an exception to the open records law for certain ongoing investigations if it would put the investigation itself at risk. In other words, if it would tip off those that are being investigated.
It's not just a driver's licensing investigation. We're told Kentucky State Police and federal prosecutors also opened a case.
What I've seen, especially with law enforcement, is this way of just developing methods of evasion.
We took the state's denial letter to Amy Bensonhaver.
Agencies default to the position that if 1 or 2 records is exempt, all records are exempt, that ultimately they can't disclose anything without compromising the investigation.
The retired lawyer was the open records guru in Kentucky's Attorney General's office for 25 years. She says governmental agencies often look for ways to deny records requests.
It's just a hassle. And in fact, it's also the way they get caught.
She points to a Kentucky Supreme Court ruling last summer. The justices said documents from open investigations could not be blanketly denied from public disclosure, and that the government had to prove the concrete risk in releasing each one of them. There were 2,300 records in response to our request that could have explained how so many people got state-issued licenses without taking the test. The Transportation Cabinet withheld every single one.
It's also going to be important at the right time to be fully transparent about what happened, how anything was discovered, and then what actions were taken.
WDRB is fighting to pry out the truth, challenging the state's denial in court. And while that case plays out,
Irritated. I wish I could just skip through everything.
people like the Brattons will continue to wait it out.
finally I got an appointment, but I don't get to get my driver's license till June. My permit in April, June driver's license, make that make sense.
Proving perhaps the hardest test in driver's licensing, maybe the test of patience. And that case was filed today in Franklin Circuit Court. Timing is of the essence due to a new state law. And you can read about that part of the story right now on our website, WDRB.com.